Success at work often depends on your ability to build rapport and maintain positive relationships with those around you. While it's easier to connect with others when things are going well, it can be much more challenging in times of conflict. I'm Mike Shafin, an executive coach with over 30 years of experience in the corporate world. Throughout my career, I've worked with hundreds of people across various industries, collaborating with different teams and departments to remove obstacles and foster strong working relationships. In creating this course, I've drawn on my personal experiences to provide practical strategies and real-life examples to help you work more effectively with others and create a more harmonious environment. The goal of this course is to make collaboration smoother, reduce friction, and boost productivity. You'll develop the skills to build rapport in any scenario and learn the key interpersonal traits that enable people to transform conflict into collaboration. You'll also discover how to establish ground rules for keeping a collaborative approach during tough conversations. Additionally, the course will teach you to identify strategies for defusing conflict with a collaborative mindset and how to turn interpersonal disputes into win-win situations. Few people genuinely enjoy conflict, and many try to avoid it, either by changing the subject or giving in rather than addressing the issue. However, conflict is inevitable, especially at work. Those who are skilled in managing conflict can develop interpersonal traits that help turn disagreements into opportunities for collaboration. One key trait of people who do this well is having a cooperative mindset. A cooperative mindset involves letting go of negative assumptions that can derail a challenging conversation. This negative thinking stems from expecting the worst, which often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We assume how the other person will behave and then feel justified when they meet our expectations. Shifting from this negative mentality to a cooperative one means halting automatic reactions and approaching the situation with critical thinking rather than presuming you know the outcome. Imagine having a cooperative, constructive conversation and then prepare yourself with that mindset. Your intention is important. It helps prevent potential obstacles and shows the other person that you're focused on cooperation, not conflict. Another trait of those who can turn conflict into collaboration is a high level of self-awareness. Being self-aware means reflecting on your behavior, understanding how it impacts others, and adjusting it when needed. Self-awareness is simpler than it might seem. It involves intentionally questioning your own behavior, especially during conflict. Be honest with yourself. Are you contributing positively to the conversation or just trying to be heard? Are you truly listening or tuning the other person out? Are you open to new ideas, or are your biases getting in the way? Another common trait of people who turn conflict into collaboration is a strong sense of empathy. Empathy allows you to see things from another person's perspective, which is crucial for fostering collaboration. When you approach a conflict with empathy, you can put yourself in the other person's position and gain a better understanding of their point of view. Even when perspectives differ greatly, empathy helps you understand where the other side is coming from. For example, if a sales team and a tech team are in conflict over an AI system that caused customer loss, empathy would help each team see the validity of the other's perspective. The tech team has invested significant resources in the system, while the sales team needs to retain customers to meet its goals. Understanding each other's motivations can lead to collaborative solutions. As an executive coach, I often ask clients how they typically handle conflict. Most people don't enjoy it. Some avoid it entirely, while a few engage in unhealthy conflict. One client at an engineering company was asked by senior management to collaborate with marketing to analyze industry trends. They had 2 months to develop a joint presentation, but past friction between the teams caused reluctance from marketing. The engineering team leader had to conduct a kickoff meeting to set collaboration expectations and norms. In these situations, setting boundaries and practicing healthy conflict requires courage and confidence, which can be learned through experience and sometimes failure. Finally, curiosity is another important trait of those who turn conflict into collaboration. Curious individuals respect differences, look for common ground, and seek new perspectives. In the conflict between the AI tech team and the sales team, curiosity could allow both sides to learn from each other. The sales team might discover the potential of the AI system, while the tech team could gain insight into how the sales team interacts with customers. This mutual learning leads to shared goals, trust, and appreciation of each team's strengths. Curiosity encourages respect for each other's ideas, opinions, and differences. Take a moment to reflect on a recent conflict at work. Were you able to turn it into a successful collaboration? What could you have done better? Remember that a cooperative mindset, self-awareness, empathy, and curiosity are traits you can develop to achieve more successful outcomes. Challenging discussions are a common part of today's workplace, and with the rise of remote and hybrid work environments, these conversations can become even harder to manage and resolve. Setting ground rules can help maintain a focus on collaboration during difficult conversations. One of the most essential rules is to stay calm. By remaining calm, rather than reacting impulsively, you reduce the tension in the situation and maintain focus, which helps you communicate more effectively. Staying calm can also encourage the other person to do the same, creating space for both sides to understand each other and seek collaboration instead of conflict. Remaining calm is not just emotional but also a physical practice. When we feel angry, anxious, or scared, our adrenaline kicks in, triggering the body's fight or flight response. This leads to increased heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing, none of which helps with staying calm. To manage this, take long, deep breaths during pauses in the conversation to counteract the adrenaline rush. Successfully navigating difficult conversations also involves owning your emotions. This requires recognizing the difference between thoughts and feelings. For instance, you might believe your solution is the best way to solve a problem, and you might feel defensive when someone disagrees. The first is a thought, and the second is a feeling. To take ownership of your emotions, acknowledge this distinction and manage the emotional response. Instead of becoming defensive, shift toward a willingness to collaborate for the overall success of the team. Owning your emotions means taking responsibility for them. If you make a mistake, acknowledge it and then move forward. Another key ground rule is to avoid blaming others. This naturally follows from owning your emotions. In conflict, it can be tempting to blame others to avoid responsibility. However, true collaboration requires focusing on solving the issue, not assigning blame. Be mindful of sentences that start with you, as these often signal blame rather than cooperation. Keeping conversations impersonal is critical in difficult discussions. Stay focused on the issue rather than the person, and use neutral language to depersonalize the conversation. For example, instead of saying, "Why do you always derail my projects?" reframe it to focus on problem solving, such as, "What do we need to do to make this project successful?" To shift from conflict to collaboration, it's also important to actively listen to the other party. This helps you understand their perspective and find common ground. Try restating their points to ensure you've understood correctly, and reflect on how their views align with yours. A final ground rule is to ask questions. This complements active listening and is vital for collaboration. Ask clarifying questions to gather more information and ensure you're interpreting their points accurately. Asking questions also helps the other person feel fully heard and understood. One of my clients, Kathy, often collaborates with Ken, a senior project leader who is skilled but can be opinionated and emotional. Kathy anticipated friction in an upcoming project, and I encouraged her to practice mutual respect, better listening, and most importantly, self-control. As expected, Ken came into Kathy's office upset over something she'd said in an email. Kathy listened calmly, didn't react defensively, and apologized, saying she was glad he brought up the issue. She then asked for clarification to better understand his concerns. Ken calmed down, and they were able to clear the air for future collaboration. Think about the last time you had a tough conversation with a colleague. Were you able to stay calm, own your emotions, avoid blame, and keep the conversation focused on the issue? By following these ground rules, staying calm, listening actively, and asking questions, you can maintain a collaborative focus even in the most difficult discussions. Conflict is a natural part of any group dynamic, especially in the workplace where people with different viewpoints, beliefs, and work styles interact closely. Navigating conflict effectively is crucial for a high-functioning team. Fortunately, there are strategies that leaders and team members can use to diffuse conflict, encourage collaboration, and stay productive. The first strategy is finding a connection with the other person. With some creative thinking, you can almost always find common ground, whether it's rooting for the same sports team, attending the same college, or even something as simple as the weather or room temperature. This connection helps establish rapport. The second strategy is showing that you truly understand the other person's perspective. Simply saying "I understand" can come off as insincere or condescending. A better approach is to demonstrate your understanding by sharing a personal story or discussing a similar emotional experience, such as saying, "I know how you feel, I've experienced something similar." Empathy plays a key role in conveying understanding. The third strategy is to focus on a shared goal. During conflict, it's easy to think there's no common ground, but in reality, there's almost always a mutual objective, such as increasing sales, enhancing the company's reputation, or improving customer service. Acknowledging that you might have different ideas on how to achieve the goal allows you to collaborate on the best approach to reaching the shared outcome. The fourth strategy is using logic to counteract irrational thinking. Emotions can cloud judgment and lead to irrational reactions during conflict. To manage this, take a step back mentally and assess the situation calmly and rationally. When re-engaging, explain your thoughts clearly, keeping emotions out of the conversation. You can acknowledge your feelings, but focus on the facts. For example, if your boss rejects a plan you've worked on for weeks and creates her own, you might feel hurt and angry. However, in your conversation, focus on the misunderstanding and the facts of the situation instead of dwelling on emotions. The fifth and final strategy is being open to compromise. Compromise is essential for collaboration, requiring you to give up certain points while standing firm on others. It's particularly useful when time is limited, communication breaks down, other resolution methods have failed, or when progress simply needs to be made. Compromise allows both sides to get part of what they want and helps move past conflict toward a solution. Reflect on how you handle conflict at work. Do you avoid it, or do you manage it effectively? Consider the tactics you typically use in difficult situations. Improving these skills can lead to better outcomes the next time you're involved in a disagreement. People often assume that everyone is motivated by the same things, but that's not always the case. When building or working in teams, it's important to recognize and appreciate a range of motivations, opinions, and perspectives. Ignoring these differences can lead to conflict. Taking a holistic view of situations and focusing on collective goals rather than just individual ones can help minimize disagreements and enhance teamwork. There are several strategies for turning conflict into win-win situations where all parties feel satisfied with the outcome. One key strategy is for both sides to identify each other's needs. This shifts the conflict from a battle into a problem-solving process. For example, if Jean and Diana are given a project and initially clash, they can focus on their strengths. Diana prefers product development, while Jean is interested in marketing. By recognizing each other's needs, they can each work in the area they prefer, avoiding unnecessary arguments. This approach requires an effort to understand the other person's perspective and goals. Another strategy is treating the relationship as long-term. If people see a conflict as a one-time issue, they may push their own agenda without regard for the long-term impact. However, when they view the relationship as ongoing, they are more likely to invest in finding a solution that benefits both parties. Showing the other person that you care about their interests can change the dynamics of the conversation and foster a win-win mentality, laying the foundation for future collaboration. Separating the person from the problem is also critical. This means viewing the conflict as a difference in opinion rather than a personal attack. It's important to ask whether the other person is really against you or if they're just trying to fulfill their own needs. Active listening and reflecting back the other person's perspective helps them feel heard and can lead to agreement. This shared understanding is key to creating win-win solutions. Finally, inventing creative options for mutual benefit is essential. Many people approach conflict as a zero-sum game, believing one person's gain means another's loss. To foster a win-win mindset, think creatively about how both parties can benefit. The outcome doesn't have to be purely financial. It could involve improved networking, a better reputation, or a more diverse skill set. By exploring these creative solutions, it's possible to ensure that everyone comes out ahead. A real-world example comes from Dola, a client of Mike Schaffin's, who faced a situation where she needed to temporarily assign one of her team members, Dyson, to another group. Dyson was initially resistant, saying it wasn't what he was hired for. Dola empathized with his concerns, recalling a similar experience from her own past. She then focused on their shared goals, reminding Dyson that he had expressed interest in leadership during his interview. Dola used logic to show how the project could boost his visibility and help him develop new skills, and she offered him an incentive by promising to work on filling his position so he could return to her team. This approach created a win-win situation, and Dyson agreed to the temporary assignment. Ultimately, approaching conflict with collaboration in mind allows everyone to feel satisfied with the result. Reflect on a work conflict where a win-win mindset could have made a difference. How might you have handled it better? In this course, you've learned that turning conflict into collaboration involves adopting a cooperative mindset, having strong self-awareness, and demonstrating empathy and curiosity to understand others' perspectives. You've also discovered the importance of establishing ground rules for staying focused on collaboration during challenging conversations. Key strategies include remaining calm, taking ownership of your emotions, avoiding blame, keeping discussions impersonal, actively listening, and asking questions. Moving from conflict to collaboration involves building a connection with the other person and showing you understand their viewpoint. It also requires focusing on shared goals, using logic to counter emotional reactions, and being open to compromise. Finally, to achieve win-win outcomes, it's crucial to identify the other person's needs, view the relationship as long-term, separate the person from the problem, and explore creative options for mutual benefit.